Hello, everybody. Today we have a very special Tone Deep episode for you all. I filmed this twice, so full disclosure, and I believe we discussed in our conversation this is the second filming of this, as I made a faux pas, as it were, recording doubled vocals on our first attempt at this interview. However, I will say it was just a good thing to get to talk to Keith a second time. He's becoming a friend via YouTube, and that is always welcomed with me. So please enjoy our conversation. Get to know a little bit more about Keith and his background. All his links in the description below. Subscribe for more. I have another Tone Deep episode that I'm hoping to release later this week or early next week. And we will be doing more interviews throughout the summer. So, with that being said, Keith, bottom of my heart, man, thank you very much for coming on. You're a great person, dad, guitar player, teacher, all of that. And it was a pleasure to get to talk to you and get to know you a little bit better. And for the rest of you out there, please enjoy this conversation with For the Love of Guitars with Keith. Keith, welcome to Tone Deep.
Thank you for having me, Sean.
Yeah, round two, as it were. Just for everybody who's not in the know, I totally royally effed up and recorded all of my audio with a doubled vocal, so it sounded like I was talking in a cavern and Keith was coming through clear as day. So we are going through a more refined version of a similar conversation. There will be some things that are different because we want to keep it fresh, but I appreciate you carving out the time for me. That's a really, I was really embarrassed because your time is valuable to you, and I can appreciate that. So I'm grateful that you agreed to come back on.
Yeah, I mean, things happen, that are out of your control sometimes, even if they are. People make mistakes or whatever.
Yeah.
It's water under the bridge, man. Just
Uh,
just here to it was fun. It was a fun chat, so I'm actually excited to talk more.
yeah, man. Like we kind of got to know each other a little bit during that.
Yeah.
So I guess it was a good like test run. Some of these that I shoot, I don't get to do that. So it's kind of nice to,
Yeah. Yeah, and that's like a weird thing when you kind of follow personalities, whether it be podcasts or on YouTube. You watch so many of a certain person, their videos or their podcast. You kind of feel like after a while, that person,
yeah,
like you feel like you're friends, but you never met that person. You never talked to them.
right.
It's like I feel that way with a lot of the crew that we both run with on our YouTube community, our guitar community, where I talk to him so much, but I'm like, have I really talked to you in real life? Like I talked to Ubi the first time when Ubi, he's another part of our community, and we were having a chat on Discord because we were doing my little podcast or streaming style thing, and I'm like, is this the first time I actually really talked to you face to face? And he was like, yeah, it is. I was like, wow, it seems like I've known you forever. And same thing with, I've never had a one-on-one speaking, deal with Brian from Searching for Tone. I've known him longer than anybody else in this crew. I've never talked to him. like
Right.
one on one. It's Discord chats or comments and all that, emails even, but we've never talked to each other. So it is weird in that way, and it's nice to get to actually know the people behind the screen and have conversations like that because damn, I mean, we freaking love guitars, and that's what we want to talk about. Nobody in my house cares about guitars and the same way we do. So it's kind of like a release to be able to talk to somebody that has such a common interest. So it's really cool.
Well, I think guys used to do this, like, I mean, you know, there's car clubs and there's
Hmm.
poker clubs and guys have poker night and stuff like that. And we have opted to stay in the house, and
Yeah.
our poker night is our live streams and like and it's
Hmm.
fragmented, it's segmented into like little an hour thing here. That I don't golf,
Hmm.
bro. Like I'm
Yeah.
not out of the house for 9 hours straight while I do 18 holes and get schnockered on Coors Light. Like that's
Yeah.
not what I'm doing. I'm breaking up my time throughout the day, and we can get into this later, but yeah, I mean, I think it's really awesome to just get to know you a little bit,
Absolutely.
like at least as much as, someday I'll shake your hand and share a meal with you or something, hopefully. But until then, this is about as good as it gets. So
Yeah. Eventually that'll happen.
yes, I hope
And
so.
and the best part about the whole thing is, we're two dudes that love guitars that have beards and wear backwards ball caps.
That's right,
So
baby. So, the first thing is that you have a great channel. I'm a huge fan of what you're doing
thanks.
over there. The lesson thing, we'll get into some questions about why you took that route and stuff, but I'm just grateful that you are doing it, that you exist,
Hmm.
that you're putting out content, breaking down, songs that we both love. So, we have similar musical interests. We grow up in the same time frame. I think the golden age of music, because we're grabbing stuff from behind us and out in
Yeah.
front, and we're in this like awesome like concoction of music at the time.
Right.
But I just really can appreciate somebody in the community that's focused on lessons, that has the talent to execute the lesson, because that's a big thing, right? It's hard to execute a lesson because you have to have a certain level of chops to even do it.
Hmm.
And then B, the knowledge of music. So clearly, your theory. And then C, the will to like share all of that with us.
Yeah.
So I just really appreciate your channel and you and what you're doing over there.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
With all that being said, let's talk gear for a little bit here.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's start with Squire Strats and why those are the best. I know that this is a little out of order, but why are Squire Strats
Yeah.
the best guitars on earth?
S Alright, I'm gonna go grab my Squires right
Go
next to
ahead.
me. So this is for reference, this is my desk. I work at my desk,
Yep.
for my day job, and I have my guitar, like, right over
Same
here.
situation, bro.
It's always in reach.
Uh-huh.
So, this is my Squire Strat. This came from a Strat pack in circa 97, 98. Cheap Fender Strat pack. Um I don't think they're the best guitars in the world. However, it's kind of hard to put it into words. Like this was my first electric guitar, right? So I've had it since that time, late '90s, and so for the longest time, it was the only electric guitar that I've ever had, and it was perfect for what I wanted because I'm a huge Jimi Hendrix fan. Um, and I think that if you want to put a label on it and say they are one of the best, is because even these cheap Squires are the perfect kind of what would you call it? Like upgradable guitars.
Mod
Like
platform.
they're the perfect mod platform. I think that's a well-known perception of them, and it rings true. I mean, I did everything under the sun with this one in particular. I mean, I got Fender Custom Shop 69 pickups in there. And I was doing this while I was in college, right? I was in college and I had no clue about gear or anything. All I knew was I wanted to sound a guitar that sounded like something that Jimi Hendrix and Stevie Ray Vaughan would play. That was my goal. and there was this local guitar shop in Columbia, Missouri. I went to school at University of Missouri. That I brought it in, and the really nicest dudes, they hooked me up. They gave me they asked me what I wanted. I told them they needed custom shop 69 pickups. So glad they weren't cheap back then. I think that was $200,
Yeah.
and
More
I
than
don't
the
think it,
guitar, probably.
oh, definitely way more worth than what the guitar is.
Yeah.
That set of pickups,
Yeah.
and they did me right. It fit the bill perfectly. Then I don't know why I got oh, I know why. I got locking tuners on them. I forgot. You remember what they were, don't
Yeah,
you?
they're Spurzl locking tuners,
Spurzl locking tuners.
and those
So,
are tippy top of the line.
see, I didn't know that, and I
Yeah.
didn't know that until our conversation a couple weeks ago that they were tippy top of the line. Um, Obviously, Squire Strat came with the crappiest tuners in the
Yeah, they're
world,
so
and
bad, dude.
yeah, and I was getting sick of them, and they were rattling and doing all this stuff. I was like, "Fix this, guys," and they were like, "You need this." And I was like, "Put it in," and then
Yeah.
I don't remember how much those cost either, but they did that. I mean, it's irrelevant at this
Yeah,
point how
yeah,
much they
totally.
cost, but
Who cares?
I didn't know that they were, like, tippy top of the line, but I'm glad that you told me that because those tuners are probably worth more than guitar too. So,
Probably. Yeah.
um,
They
that
are
that was
now
the
anyway.
next thing. That was the next thing, and then, when I moved to Kansas City, I wanted new frets on that guitar. Who would pay money to get stainless steel? I didn't even know. I don't They might not even be stainless steel. I don't know what they are, but they're jumbo frets. They probably are stainless steel. I got it refretted. Um, and I think I it came out as good as I could possibly ask for, as far as the fret job goes.
Yeah.
Jumbo frets, never had an issue with them because I played that thing so much. The frets they did wear down, or whatever they were before, nickel or whatever.
Yeah,
So
nickel, I think. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, and I have that's the testament. I played that guitar so much. My first acoustic guitar I played so much. I can't even play it now because those frets are worn down. It's not worth refretting that,
Right.
but I'm never gonna get rid of it. But and then on top of that, I got it painted. You saw that paint job I got on there.
It's super
Um,
cool. You can hold it up if you
yeah,
wanna
I'll
show
just
it
hold
off
it
a
up.
little bit.
I'll
I
hold it up
love
one
it.
more time. So basically, Jimi Hendrix had that flying V that he took out and he painted with nail polish, flowers and all that kind of
Love
stuff.
drops.
And
Yeah.
yeah, that one.
That's the name
And
of it. That's what they call it.
I think they either have that one or a replica of it in Nashville in the Musicians Hall of Fame. So what I did was I had a buddy of mine paint my guitar, and I said, "Here." I showed him a picture of that Love Drops guitar. I was like, "Do something like that, not the same, just something like that." And he came back and he did this, which is a lion, and there was a silhouette of Bob Marley in the back. Now I'm a huge Bob Marley fan. I didn't want him on here, but what am I gonna do? He painted my guitar, and I thought it looked awesome, and he asked me, or I asked him, "Should I put like a clear coat on top?" He was like, "No, just play it as is." And
Yeah.
that's how we get all this wear here and there on the paint, and
Yep.
little nicks and stuff. And there's even a little something on the back.
That's cool. I like
It's
that.
supposed
That's a nice touch.
it's supposed to be like a blue train.
Okay.
I don't think he finished it. I was kind of really eager to get it back.
Yeah. Well, it's like
So
your only electric at the time, probably.
yeah, it was my only
Yeah.
electric. The funny story about why I wanted to get it painted. Now, I'm a huge reggae fan. There's this movie called Rockers. Have you ever heard of
I have
that?
seen that movie. Yeah.
So you've seen Rocker? Oh,
Mhm.
one of my favorite movies of all time. I've seen that so many times that I can't even count.
Yeah.
I love it. And it's funny, that movie, because they speak in a Jamaican patois accent,
Mhm.
and it's English, but they still have to have subtitles. But the funny thing about the subtitles is the subtitles are in patois too.
Yeah.
So it's just like,
Yeah.
what did he say? Oh, he said, "I'm on Earl Mountain now, just peeing up the line of the far
Yeah.
I pull my bike man, right?" And then it says that just spelled out. It's just freaking hilarious.
That's
But that
funny.
in that movie, the guy wanted to sell records, and he bought a motorcycle. And the first thing he did was took it to his buddy and got it painted. Um, and I was like just so inspired. I took my guitar to my buddy. I was like, "Paint this. I'm gonna do things with it," and that's how I got it that way. But I guess long story short, yeah, the perfect mod platform for a guitar. It's the sum of its parts is what makes it what it is. I couldn't ask for a better Strat. Uh, especially growing up and using that thing, because for what I wanted, even with the stock pickups that were in there, it did the trick.
Yeah, sure.
So I mean, everything on there has been touched. The nut's been touched, the electronics on the inside. I put it on the extra spring in the back, uh, for the only reason of looking at pictures of Jimi Hendrix playing with his teeth, and you could see all the springs in the back. I was
Right.
like, "Oh, mine only has 3. Let me put 4 or 5 or whatever in there to make it look just like what he has," and
There
that's
you go.
exactly what I did. And, I freaking loved it. It's been my number 1 until fairly recently because
Sure.
I and we could talk about that with other rig stuff, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
Well, that's a
this
good segue. I mean,
yeah,
let's bleed in. I mean, I fully agree with you. We'll just put a bookend on this. Like I have, I have mine here, and just
right.
like you, this is all new. The There's a different trem block in here.
Mhm.
The nut is new, the string trees are new, the tuners are new,
Uh-huh.
and everything got like changed. And I think mine has a similar story to yours. I haven't had mine as long as you've had yours, but I bought that thing for $75 in a pawn
Yeah.
shop during COVID lockdown. And it was like there was a pawn shop open, and I went on my lunch break and I saw that thing, and I was like, I have to have it. And it's so
Yeah.
funny that it's a Squire Bullet Strat that made you go, I have to have it. Like I picked it up, I strummed it, and I was like, I have to have this.
Can you
So
pick up that guitar again?
yeah, yeah.
Can show me the headstock.
Right. So I scratched off the Squire. I
Yep.
didn't scratch off so everybody knows it's a Squire, so I'm not passing
Yeah.
it off as a Fender, but it says Shmee's a pumpkin. So my buddy Adam, his last name is Smith, and we always called him Shmee, like from Hook, the movie Hook.
Yeah.
And so we always called him
Bob
Shmee.
Hoskins.
Well, he's a
Yeah.
pirate,
Yeah,
he was
Bob
a pirate.
Hoskins played him, and he also played Super Mario in the Mario Brothers movie.
Right. That's crazy, dude.
That's me. Yeah.
Um Anyway, so his guitar that looked similar to this and was also a Squire that I broke when we were in college, and I made it right then, but obviously, his guitar that I broke on purpose in college, inebriated, was called Glennis, and it looked similar to this. This is my ode to Glennis, and I call her Ethel because
Uh-huh.
Glennis and Ethel, they sound like
Old lady
old lady
ladies.
best friends that are having tea on Sunday or whatever, and
Yeah.
and his said "Smash a Pumpkin" because he was a huge Smashing Pumpkins fan.
Mhm.
And so we used to call each other Pumpkin Seed when we were roofing together back in the day. So I thought it would be fitting if it said "Shmee's a Pumpkin." So then it's kind of like his,
Yeah.
but not exactly. It's an ode to him and his guitar. So yeah, mine's kind of like a Glennis tribute, and I just love Squires for being available for those type of things. Like,
Exactly,
you know,
yeah. I mean, and that's similar thing. I asked that question because I had scratched off the Squire in my mind because every I don't look, I was in college. I think I was like 19 or something,
young and
and when I got it
impressionable.
painted, I had to scratch that Squire off because I didn't want anybody to know that I was using the Squire. I wanted them to think I was using a Fender. But everybody does that or did that at some point. I don't know. I couldn't afford an American Strat or anything like that. So I not only sanded it off the front, I sanded the serial number or whatever it was on the back too, which I probably shouldn't have done, but who cares? It's my guitar. I'm never gonna get rid of it. It's too
Right.
personal.
Well, I just think I that's why I appreciate Squire so much because they've never really changed from that
Hmm.
model. It's like they have the classic vibe, and they made the classic vibe to compete with what Epiphone always used to do, which is
Uh-huh.
offer Gibson models at a little higher quality, no bolt-on
Yeah.
necks on their Gibson stuff, it's all
Hmm.
set neck, but you get a different headstock, you get not as good of pickups. Squire is like they've stayed committed. Now they have that what's the new series called? Do you remember? It's called
Is it?
like it's not Bullet anymore. They call it Sonic. That's what it is.
Oh,
The
yeah.
Sonic series, which is basically the Bullet series.
Mhm.
And they have that one that Brian at Searching for Tone has, the debut series, which is
Uh-huh.
great. I mean, they've always been so good at that. And the bottom line is, for the money, the quality on those is fine. Like, yes, it's tuners
Yeah.
and
Pickups.
it's tuners and pickups,
Yeah.
but on a more moddable setup than what like Epiphone could ever offer because of the
Right.
way their guitars are made.
Yeah. So, I mean, the thing about this Squire and me and with guitars in general, I didn't, I was probably 13 or 14 when I got that guitar. I
Mhm.
didn't have any clue what modding was or anything like that. This was just a natural evolution of me throughout the years, because I didn't do all this at once, right? It
Right.
was it was like years separated between, the pickups and the tuners, and then the refretting was a long time afterwards, and the
Yep.
paint was somewhere in between, and even up until a couple of years ago, I just had the electronics redone in it. So I never considered it a modding platform as much as when I was the guitar growing up with me.
Yeah.
I guess that's the
Like, I
best
can
way
get
to
more
put
out of
it.
this. Like,
Yeah.
I'm better at guitar now. I can make these sounds with my fingers. I need the
Right.
guitar to put that out properly.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly, and the pickups did most of that work and the fret work, but yeah, it was more of a growing up with me. It's like,
it's cool.
I'm ready to move on. I can't afford a new guitar. I can't afford a $1,000 guitar, but I can afford a $200 set of pickups.
Mhm.
You weigh your pros and cons. Same thing with the fret job. I think I paid around $300 to get the frets on there back in the day, and this was probably in like 2008 or 9 that I did it, which yeah, it's quite a while ago now that I think about it. Doesn't seem like it's that long ago, but we're getting older. But yeah,
Time
it was
flies, brother.
just an evolution of it. I mean, there's still more that I maybe want to do. I need to fix the tone knob to work with the bridge pickup in there, which is something I feel like I could do, but it's just one of those things. I'm not a tinkerer when it comes to guitars. I
Leave that to
do
Ted,
it.
right?
Yeah, I can't look, I installed pickups in one guitar, my Tele, and I had no clue what I was doing. I'm so lucky that it actually came out, as good as it worked.
That's awesome.
I can't speak if I took pictures of it, people would be like, "Oh, that's not gonna work in a few months." I don't know. It works for me now,
Yeah,
but I'm not a tinkerer, I'm not a modder myself. I just pay people to get it done because I have no clue, and I don't wanna screw it up. I mean,
sure. Yeah, and that brings us
I have
into, like, what else do you got, man? I mean, you sent me some pictures, they'll be up here on the screen, but, like, what's
yeah.
your current, like, sort of you're reaching for a guitar, you're flipping on an amp, what's your go-to right now?
So, my go-to thing right now, and it has changed. When as with many guitars, at least let me just speak for myself. I started out with one of those Zoom GFX pedals. Everybody had one of those, the multi
Yeah,
effects,
yep,
the
I remember.
zooms. Getting so many cool sounds out of that, and you had a little expression pedal on the side and all that. And basically, what I- I'm I started off with the whole effects, wanting to sound good and throwing pedals in front of things and all that. And I've eventually kind of settled on the fact where I just like clean tone guitars more. So I run everything through, and to get that clean kind of warm tone that I wanted to sound more like a Stevie Ray Vaughan or even a Jimi Hendrix to some extent. Well, yeah, to a lot of extent, because what he played with, like Lil Wing, for example, that tone.
Jimmy was clean
Clean
way
amps.
more than
Yeah.
people think.
Even Metallica plays clean,
Oh, yeah,
a lot of
on
people
every
think that
song,
they're
every
yeah,
song.
a lot of people think it's just, like, super crunchy hardcore. Even, James Hetfield's like, "We don't play that dirty, we don't have that much ga" If you listen to it, they don't,
Yep.
not what you're used to hearing. But, um, I gravitated towards that, so and there's still remnants of what I was going for at the beginning with the whole trying to sound more like a Jimmy and a Stevie. So I on that pedal board, I have the, tube screamer. I have, outside of the tuner, it goes through my compressor first. That's the first thing I have going on there. I love a compressor, especially when I'm doing a lot of the kind of country style chicken picking, which I'm trying to work on, and it sounds so good, and a lot of that funk, hard hitting,
Yeah.
just quick tick 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 type of stuff. And then I go through my overdrives, which is and you'll see it up on the screen, the Tube Screamer, which didn't do anything for me at the time. I wanted to sound like Stevie, and I put it on. I was like, this doesn't sound like Stevie. So that got me thinking. I was like, I need an amp, that'll sound good. And we'll move on to the amp. But after that Tube Screamer, I have the Zach Wild MXL pedal. Is it MXL or MXR? MXR pedal, which is an awesome overdrive pedal. And then I go through BBE Fuzz Face, which is the whole fuzz deal. I'm still kind of getting used to fuzzes. The BBE is a good
Yeah.
brand. I didn't know what I wanted. I tried a Big Muff Pie. I jumped off of that guy really quick, and I got a BBE fuzz, which I'm kind of happy with. I think with fuzzes, you just got to just crank everything up to 10, throw it on your bridge pickup, and there is. I have that fuzz face on my pedal board.
Yeah.
I don't use it that much because I'm mostly playing clean stuff in general. And lately, if I wanted to move down that chain, from that Two Screamer to the Zach Wild to the Fuzz, I got that Randy Rhodes overdrive pedal that I won from searching for tone. He had
Dude,
a little drawing. That pedal freaking rocks,
so
dude.
cool too.
I mean, look, Randy Rhodes, awesome guitar player, and he's a legend. I
Yes.
mean, he is a legend, and I did not expect that pedal to be as good as it was. It kind of seemed like one of those gimmicky things and some tribute to Randy Rhodes, this and
Yeah.
that. Limited edition. They just wanted to sell pedals, and there people were scalping them. And Brian from Searching for Tone. Let me put it that way, ended up getting one and giving it away. He told me multiple times he's glad that I won it because I didn't just win it and run off because I'm still with the
Right.
group. I could
Right.
have done that, but I didn't. I, I'm so happy that I got that pedal and still on the board and it's getting used. It's not like, at least he knows it's getting used by
Went
a
to a good
friend.
home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's never gonna go away. I'm not gonna get rid of that.
Right.
But that pedal is freaking amazing. I love it, and I find myself using it way more when I wanna get that kinda, like, really tight, just distortion type of sound. That's when my Tube Screamer comes into play to stack, to get that mid boost in there. That's primarily on how I use that Tube Screamer, just to kinda boost things up. The more and more I get use that Randy Rhodes pedal, the less and less I'm using the Zach Wild pedal, which that one was my go-to for that crunchy thing, but it's still got a space on my board. And then, finally, the Roto Vibe, dude, that I went into a music store in Columbia, Missouri. I wanted a Univibe because I think that's like probably my favorite guitar effect pedal of all time. This Jimi Hendrix,
Yes.
what
That's
is it?
the correct. That
Man,
is
Band of
correct.
Gypsies, Jimi Hendrix. It is that is my favorite guitar sound, like
Yeah.
that warbly, just it. They didn't have one, Univibe when I went to that guitar store in Columbia, Missouri. He was like, "Here, take this. This is a Roto Vibe. It has an expression pedal. It's two in one. It's got a chorus and it's got the I forget the other setting." He was not lying at all, man. That thing
Yeah.
straight sounds like Jimmy to the fullest. It's my favorite pedal, and I think those things have gotten up in price as well.
The
So
Roto vibe.
yeah, Dunlop makes a Roto Vibe, and
That's really interesting. And it's probably a little different than, a Univibe.
it's a little different, but it gave me exactly what I was looking for, which is that univibe sound, and it is different, and it's got the chorus and the vibe. I forget the two settings. I don't use one of them a lot, and it's even got an intensity dial on it too, so you could um,
Yeah.
on the side twist it to make it more intense or make it a little more subtle, roll it back a little bit, and on top of that, it's an expression pedal, so you can make it go quick, and you could adjust the
So
variable
that's like the
speed that way.
old style then too, because I think the
Yeah.
old Univibes used to have the expression pedal with them, right?
Right. I mean, you're not
And then
expressing it. It's a
Jimmy's did.
speed. Yeah, it's a speed thing though,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. That's
So,
right.
I mean, and then you're talking about Jimmy and all that. I mean, the wah thing, I took the wah pedals off my board because it's fun. I used it a lot back in the day. I just don't use it anymore. I have the Vox sitting under there and a Crybaby. The Vox sounds better in my opinion than a Crybaby, but
Interesting.
but I think so, personally.
Number one, Vox walls just look the shit. Like they're
Yeah.
so cool looking and with all the chrome and everything. I just love
Uh-huh.
them for the
Yeah.
look. And then the Vox model in my because that's my only experience with that tone, really. The Vox model in my Pod Go is really good. I do enjoy it. It just depends on
Yeah.
what I'm using it for.
Yeah. I mean, well, to bring everything back, like kind of full circle to complete that out, I want to
Yeah.
talk about amplifiers. I mean, if you see it on the picture, I'm running a Super Champ XD. Are you familiar with those at all?
Yeah, I actually my dad used to have one.
Yeah, I mean, they came out with the XD, it was the first model, then the X2 and all that stuff with extra features.
Mhm.
But it's a cool hybrid little tube amp, and it has solid state kind of hybrid. It has power tubes and preamp tubes and the whole
Yep.
deal, but it is also a modeler.
Yeah.
It does. That's. I also have like a. That's what I primarily run through right now. I've even gigged with that little amp because when you're gigging with an amp, the sound engineers don't like seeing you bring up gigantic
Yeah, they
amplifiers.
just mic your little one.
They mic it and they just throw it through the PA or whatever like
Yeah.
that. And so when I brought that thing to one of my show, or yeah, to my first show with it, the guy was like, "Dude, thank you so much for bringing that amp." So because yeah, you have all these dudes that I want to show you the biggest amp that I got, so expensive. I mean, I have a hot rod DeVille downstairs in my basement that I haven't touched in like 10
Those
years,
things are
and
so loud.
they're freaking, I mean, and they take so much I remember, recently I plugged it in and, put the power up, and as soon as I hit something, the lights started dimming in the house, so I wanna get rid of it, but those things aren't really everybody and their mom has one of those, hot rods, so
They're hard to
they
sell.
they're really hard to sell, so
Yeah.
it's just gonna sit there and do nothing, appreciate maybe one of these days and sell it, but I have no need for an amp that big. I mean, my dream amp right now would be a Princeton Reverb, but the time will come eventually. But until then, that thing is gonna
Those
make do.
champs do a really nice Princeton
Yeah,
tone.
they
They do
do.
it. My
It's a
dad had one, and I played it in the garage all the time, and I believe if I am remembering correctly, the Princeton tone on there was a go-to. It sounds so
yeah,
good.
yeah. There's a clean channel which what it models off of whatever Fender Blackface.
Mhm.
That's all it says, and then there's another channel that has all the modelers on there. And dude, I mean, even with like crunch sounds, metal sounds, even an acoustic modeler thing sounds awesome for it. If that thing ever dies, I don't know. I'm gonna either get a Blues Junior or what I really want is a Princeton Reverb 65 reissue. Um, that would be the thing. But yeah, that's the rig rundown there. And then of course the guitars, the Strat. But like I was kind of alluding to before, my Strat isn't really my number one anymore. My number one is my Telecaster right now because I bought that Telecaster in 2013 when I started gigging out with my band, and I just needed something other than a Strat, and that's what I chose. Um, I didn't really like it that much, and a Telecaster makes you play differently. It makes you
Yeah.
it makes you sound shitty, because
It
it takes a lot of
exposes flaws in your game.
exactly
Yes.
like playing clean exposes flaws. Dirtying things up hides everything.
Yep.
Adding reverb hides everything. You could get a Telecaster. That's how you sound. If you sound like crap, it's gonna let you know. If you sound really good, it'll let you know. So I've been putting in all of my work lately into my Tele. It's so freaking versatile. I mean, you get any sound you want. You could even chug with a freaking
You
Telecaster.
can. Yeah.
I got a PV Bandit, which and that's another thing. Bandit 112,
Mhm.
solid state
Yeah.
amplifier thing could chug like a freaking beast. I hooked up my Tele to that, and I was rocking out some Metallica with that because
He's
I didn't have any humbuckers at the time. And look, my dog
You
likes
don't
it.
need them. You just need a Tele bridge, man.
All you need is a Tele bridge and a little bit
Oh,
of hotness. And this is
stealing
a
the
boy.
show.
This is a boy, by the way. His
He's
name is
stealing
Zig.
the show.
Yeah, he loves it. When we first got him, he freaking would freak out whenever I play guitar.
Oh, really?
Now he just like sits at my feet and listens to me and just lays down. I love it, man.
That's awesome.
Like whenever the family leaves and at the house alone, it's just me and the dog. I'll
Yeah.
crank the amp and he's just like
It's
right
like,
there laying down like
cool,
it's
bro.
nothing.
Let's do
Yeah,
it.
he's like, exactly. Cool, bro.
It's
Like
awesome.
yeah, I freaking love that. Like,
Uh,
I need to do something. Get a T-shirt or a sign with just me or like a guitar and a dog. That's all I need in life, right?
there you go. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
To kind of broaden the scope of what we're talking about, I would love to know, and you kind of started in on this a little bit, what got you into, making the video part of playing guitar? Like you were
yeah.
in bands, feel free to drop names and tell us what kind of music you were doing and all that stuff. But, kind of what led you down this path?
Well, yeah. So I was my first like I played a lot in college. That was mostly duos, acoustic duos or not really a full band. Not until I moved to Kansas City, and that was like my first real band. Drums, bass, couple guitarists, and I primarily wrote all that music because nobody else would write music. I don't know why, but and even I don't know, they made me sing too. So and I wasn't even the best singer. I don't know why,
Well, you wrote
but
the song.
yeah, you wrote the song. It's like, well, why don't you write a song and you sing it, right? But so I did that, and then the band broke up. Right, the drummer, it was his practice space. He had kids. We couldn't practice anymore. It was like, all right, I guess we're all done with this whole thing
What
here.
happens?
Um, that's what happens. And then, the creative juices never stop. And you could probably attest to that too. You're just always thinking about music. You're always thinking about me primarily. I don't really concentrate on gear stuff. So I've never been a gear centric person. I'm more of a play and create type of person. I'm
Mm.
not saying what I do is good or anything like that. It's just what I do. I
It's good.
love making music. Well, thank you. I love making music.
Yeah.
Like I never had more satisfaction in outside of me, my wife, and that stuff. I'm talking about personal like hobbies and stuff. Creating art. I never had more satisfaction in my life than when it came to collaborating and writing music and seeing an idea come into fruition. That's what I had with a band, but it doesn't stop with you. I would always write songs, and when the band ended, I just have a back catalog of things that I liked. and you just can't just shut it off. I guess you can shut it off and tune it out, but eventually you're gonna come back. Then what happens is you end up stuck with no creative outlet. I needed something. I was watching, I got down the guitar YouTube rabbit hole kind of late. Only about 2 or 3 years ago, I started with watching Rick Beato videos, right?
Mhm.
Because always been lurking on the gear page since 2007, and recently Beato's always came up, and it seemed like the gear page hated that guy. I don't know, and then
A
they
lot of
hate everybody.
do for some reason.
I don't know why. Then I was like, "What's
He's
this all
fine.
about? Who's it?" Yeah, who's this Beato guy? And I listened. I was like, "This guy freaking is awesome. He has all these amazing interviews with all these artists. He's a record producer. He makes music, and we're talking about music like just what you mentioned earlier. We played. It was an alternative band. We played alternative rock or whatever
What
you
was
would
it
hear on the
called?
radio. We were called multiple names, but first we were called the Luddites,
Okay.
and then towards the end we were called the Mick Myers Love Fund. Because there was a bearded ginger guy, but he was bald, so
Okay.
you're not you.
Shout out
Uh,
to the bearded
and he
gingers out there.
yeah, he was our age back then, 10, 15 years ago. He was 40. We were probably in our 20s or something like that. And he was just a kind of a curmudgeon type of guy. And so we just named the band after him, the Mick Myers Love Fund. His name
That's
was Mick.
funny.
Yeah, and but anyway, we are talking about Beato. I was watching his stuff, and then I was like, "Cool, this guy does good interviews." And then he does a lot of guitar stuff. And then I was like, "Okay, there's this cat on there. His name is Rhett Scholl. He's on Beato's videos. He must be cool, right?" So I started watching Rhett stuff, and then I started from there watching. They kept on mentioning Tom Bukovac,
Mhm.
so I was like, "Who the hell is this Tom Bukovac guy?" That
Uncle
Lukather,
freaking
Luke
Larry.
Uncle Larry, Lukather was talking about Bukovac, the next generation of this and that, and I was like, "Let's look at this Bukovac guy." And then this Bukovac guy, he's amazing. I will never be as good of a guitarist as that guy in my life, no matter how much I practice. That guy put the work in. I mean, one of the best. And we could talk about Guthrie Trapp later because that eventually led into Guthrie Trapp, which
Mhm.
is, in my opinion, the best guitarist living. But at least for what I like to
Yeah.
hear
I
and
mean, he's
play.
up there. It's
I,
inarguable, I think,
you can't tell that. Yeah, that guy just knows his shit. So does Tom Bukovac, and I'm like, okay, Tom Bukovac makes videos off his phone in his garage, and people love that shit, right?
Yeah.
I was like, what the hell is stopping me from doing the same thing? I know I'm not a Tom Bukovac. I'm not a session player, but I could put stuff on YouTube. I could put something on YouTube to get some kind of creative juices out. It's not going to be the quality of a Rhett Scholl or Mike Cole. You know Mike Cole?
I love Mike Cole. I've
Yeah,
been a sub of his for, like, 3 years, I think.
amazing.
Yeah.
Like that guy puts together amazing videos.
He's so good.
Samurai Guitars, the same thing. It's like
Yep.
I can't do that. I can't do that. But what I can do is I can take my phone and record myself like Tom Bukovac. I'm not as good as him, and I don't know. I got to start somewhere.
Mhm.
Guthrie Trapp did the same thing. Just throw on your phone and do that. I was like, if it's that easy, why not give it a shot? So I did that. And I think my first video that I uploaded was me playing. I think it was "Wait Until Tomorrow" by Jimi Hendrix. was the first video. I was like, "That's cool," and I showed it to my buddies, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna roll with this." So I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm gonna do." Then you mentioned we were talking about Marty Schwartz earlier, and I was like, "Okay, I'm watching these instructional videos. These guys are they mess up quite a bit, when they're playing, and everybody messes up, but they just leave it in there." So I was like,
Yeah.
even Tom Bukovac and Guthrie Trap, they mess up all the time. I was like, you don't have to be perfect to do this. So I was like, I think I have enough skill because I've been playing since I was 13 or 14. I'm 40 now, so I was like, I know my way around the fretboard. I could do something. I didn't know what it was. So I was like, what am I gonna do? Okay. Um, I want to learn how to put together videos like Marty Schwartz and teach people songs. Every song in the world's been done. If not by Marty Schwartz,
True.
there's instructions by somebody else. So I was like, well, maybe I could just do it and give my own take on it.
Yeah.
Um the ultimate goal there was, just to get some kind of creative output. And I had this backlog of songs and I wanted to put out an LP. And I was thinking, well, maybe I could use YouTube as a platform and save money aside if I ever make money off of YouTube to get the necessary things I needed to put out music. And that was the whole genesis of the whole thing
Yeah.
there. So that's kind of how I kind of like went from band to starting making videos on YouTube. It was just watching these guys and connecting with it and thinking to myself, I could do this too.
Yeah.
Anybody could do it. It
Yeah.
just takes somebody with the mindset that's not scared to put themselves out there, put themselves on camera and receive comments that because you go into this stuff, you got to know that you're gonna get haters, you're gonna get negative comments and all this stuff. Luckily, I've kind of avoided that. I don't know why nobody's really trashed me on my videos. I'm waiting for it. I think one person made a comment that said, "Oh, you're just a wannabe Jimi Hendrix." Blah blah blah. I'm like,
Okay.
kind of sounds like a compliment to me, but
And that's I
thank you.
mean, we can ignore 3rd grade insults for sure.
Yeah.
It's not like an issue. I don't know why I haven't received much of it either. I think part of it is we have such a good like we you talked about earlier community
Yeah.
of people. So a lot of my subs are people that I see in the comment section and the
Uh huh.
chats and stuff like that, and I'm perfectly fine with that. I mean,
Yeah.
Jonathan over at Electric Flamingo and I just talked about that, and you were in the chat, so I know you
Mm-hmm.
know that. But um, his channel and maybe Brian at Searching for Tone deals with this on a certain level that you and I really don't because we're not um what gear review based
Uh huh.
necessarily. I'm kind of like tinkering based versus like, getting sponsorship and like reviewing stuff. And
Mhm.
so I don't really have a target on my back for people to be like, "You're just shilling," Brian's like,
Yeah,
they're like, "You're
yeah,
shilling for Stritch." And it's like, it's a $100 pedal board. He doesn't have to say that it's good if it isn't, and
yeah.
like, and then, because like Jonathan does all that Donner stuff, he deals with that as well. And so I think if you're gear based and you've gotten to a certain size where you're getting like sponsored videos and stuff like
Mhm.
that, people will come on there just to hate on you and you can
Look,
take it
I
as a
mean,
compliment. I think if
yeah,
you get big enough to start getting hate, you could take that as a compliment and say, "Oh,
yeah.
man, I
I
really
mean,
made it."
I think there was a quote, "You ain't got no haters, you ain't popping." Right?
Right. Yeah, it's a good quote.
That's so, I mean, Ryan gets hate, but, yeah, his channel's doing very well.
It is.
But, you know, eh, look, here's the deal with all that. If you're what's wrong with shilling? Look,
I don't have a
ad reads are all over the place. All the podcasts I listen to, ad reads. All the people you like, ad reads. Patreons. People need to make money somehow. If they're entertaining you, why the hell are you going to leave a bad comment? You should know what you're getting into when you're watching a review on anything. And that's just a different conversation. The best thing to do there is find somebody that you trust
Yeah.
that is going to tell you straight up, this is sponsored and this is how I really feel. You know, you just got to pick.
Yeah.
there's a certain toxicity, like you said, that comes with the whole gear review, and it's like you're getting paid to do this. It's like, who cares? You're watching the video because you wanted to learn something, and what did you learn out of it other than being an asshole? You know,
Yeah. You
it's
learn
just
that nobody likes your comment. Goodbye.
yeah,
Yeah.
bye. But it all look, I don't have ad reads, I don't have sponsors, I'm not big enough to make money on YouTube or anything. I don't even I don't have a Patreon. I put a Venmo tip jar in my description, but it's buried at the bottom. I don't ask for any money or anything like that.
Yeah.
I just put it out there, just just I want to share what I know with people, and that's it. And who knows? Maybe down the line I can get affiliate links with Sweetwater or something like that, and I'll throw them in there. But it's people got to make a living. This is
Yeah.
not my living. I'm lucky enough where I have a job and I can just do this on the side, and it's
Yeah.
more fun to me than anything else is making videos. I freaking love the whole process of it.
That kind of brings me like to my next question, which is like, why did you choose teaching as your route rather than like say gear reviews? I mean, I know you explained already that you're kind of your spirit is like you're a player, first, and
Hmm.
you're not a guitar tech, and maybe not as OCD as our buddy Ted, or
Yeah.
as fond over gear as like Brian is.
Uh huh.
You're kind of more like an Ubi's lane, I would say. You're like closer to
Right.
Ubi's lane where you're focused on creation, but you create lessons. So where does your motor for teaching come in?
Well, I mean, the thing is, starting out, and you said it yourself, your channel's a little, and mine to an extent too, was
Mm.
just a little all over the place. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I didn't know what the channel was going to be. The first video was just me practicing Jimi Hendrix song "Wait Until Tomorrow," and then the next one was me teaching people how to play a Neil Young song, and then the next one was me testing out cheap $20 microphones, like from Amazon or something like that. I had
Sidebar
no
real
freaking
quick,
clue. Yeah.
One of the most rewarding experiences that I've had on acoustic guitar was learning Harvest Moon.
Oh, yeah.
Or is that not Harvest Moon? What's it called? Is that the name of
And
the song?
Neil
On
Young.
this harvest moon, yeah, it's Harvest Moon.
Yeah, it's Harvest
Yeah,
Moon. Yeah, he had a
learning Harvest Moon on acoustic guitar and, like,
Oh, yeah.
really I'm like, "This is a Neil Young song, so it's gonna be super easy, right?" But,
He
like, what I
does the,
really
harmonics on
yeah,
it.
I, like, really
Yeah.
focused on, like, making clean chords, like, really nice, like, I dialed in, like, to the nitty-gritty, and
Mhm.
when I played that song all the way through for the first time, I was like, it filled my heart. So,
Yeah.
anyway, that's just a
I
sidebar,
mean,
so
you gotta be careful with these sidebars because if it involves Neil Young, I'm gonna be all over it.
I'm
That
sorry.
guy
No, no.
that guy is the epitome of look, if I could play acoustic guitar like anybody, it would be Neil Young.
Yeah,
That guy live at Massey Hall, Neil Young, just him and his guitar, pre-Harvest, like he was playing songs from Harvest on that concert. Just so best guitar sound I've ever played. I wish I could play like the guy on acoustic guitar. That's what I strive to be. Uh, so for you to learn, I learned just that little intro, dun, 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 dun,
yeah.
whatever. That little, I know exactly what you're talking about because those harmonics are really cool.
Such a beautiful
Yeah,
song to hear and really fulfilling to
yeah.
play, you know?
Yeah, I haven't learned that one from the beginning, but yeah, so, like, it was the channel was all over the place, and I did teach, Neil Young songs. I think I did Powderfinger and Look Out for My Love or something like that, and eventually, I wanted to do gear stuff. I wanted to review guitars. I would email companies, "Can you send me a guitar? Can you send me a guitar?" I'll review it and send it back. You don't have enough subscribers. You need at least so many subscribers. I'm like, what the hell? And I'm like, okay, so how do I get guitars to review if nobody's gonna send me guitars? I can't buy guitars to review. I
Right.
can't buy pedals to review. I would go broke.
Mhm.
And I'm, got family, we got kids, we got do all bills to pay. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not in the game. So how could I put out videos that I think are worth it without having to spend money?
Yeah,
And the one thing was teaching, whether it be teaching people songs, which is what it was at first, finding songs that nobody else put out there, or if they were out there, then do it, try to do it better. I mean, one of the things I had was one of the first ones that I did was a song called Broken Hearted by Eric Clapton off of his album Pilgrim. Nobody has a video on how to do that out there.
There you
I
go.
was like, I remember that song from back in the day, and I learned it, um, and put it out there, and then I got people thanking me for doing that. It's a shitty video, that video too, but it's just me in my living room with a bandana on, just dressed like complete crap. But the guy was like, "Thank you for putting this out there. I've never been able to find it." I was like, "That's pretty freaking cool."
That is
And then
cool, man.
I don't know. Then eventually it just got down to like I have this theory stuff that I learned. It's like maybe I could take that angle. So I would put out these shorts on theory and do long lessons on that. And then, eventually it just kept on getting, and it's still doing this, getting a little closer together. I started out here just all over the place. I have some guitar reviews because I'd go into the music stores and they'd let me play their guitars and film myself reviewing them.
Mhm.
So I have those out. One of the best ones I had was a review of a GS Mini. I think it was a 50th anniversary GS Mini. That video, people love that thing.
Yeah.
And it's just me in that guitar store playing in front of my camera and then putting it together as a video. So that's the way I did the guitar review type of stuff. But and I still have some of those that I need to put together and put out. And I want to keep on doing that. I want to review guitars, but hold on a second. A lot of people are digging some of this teaching stuff. So kept on rolling with that. And then eventually I got to the point where I'm like, I'm taking songs that I like or that I'm getting recommended and kind of breaking down the theory behind the song. So not necessarily teaching how to play the song. I'll teach you the basics, but how an artist arrived at what they did, whether they knew it or not in that particular song. How long does it take you to write a song? Can you play chords that are in the same key? Do you even know what that means? Can you go to a gig or a jam and understand what a basic 1-4-5 chord progression is, what 12 bar blues is? A lot you'd be surprised at how many people don't know how to play basic 12 bar blues and don't know what the changes are, right? So, okay, no, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say
No,
that,
no,
but the thing
no.
is like you have to
It's true.
understand.
I was gonna let you finish your thought, but I still can't quite grasp the number system. I have my circle of fifths
Mhm,
up and it tells you the numbers and there's good websites and stuff like that. I still have a hard
uh-huh,
time with it, but I'm getting better. It's just a
yeah,
concept that I just really have a hard time remembering. I think that's the key, is
right,
that, like, while I'm playing,
yeah,
a really hard time remembering. So what I'm banking on
mhm,
is that I can drill it in while I'm not playing enough
yeah,
that when I do play, it just happens reflexively and I don't have to think about it, which I think is the
yeah.
best part about knowing theory is not remembering it and just doing it.
Exactly. Like, if you have an understanding, and this is not necessarily theory as much, I guess maybe it is, but just like what the concept of a bar is, and that within a 12 bars, like
Mhm.
when do the chords change, and knowing that timing. A lot of us have that in our head. If you just listen to blues, you know that it's going to go to this next chord at some point, and you can kind of get away with feeling through it. But if you understand it and where things are coming, you could prep a little bit further ahead of time in your head, and you'll know exactly where you're going to go next on the fretboard. And like I broke down, for example, a Nirvana song. I think it's called "About a Girl" by Nirvana, and the
Great song.
super basic guitar solo, and it's an E minor pentatonic guitar solo. You would never guess it. Kurt Cobain probably knew exactly what he was doing there. He knew the theory behind it, whether people argue that or not. Jimi Hendrix knew the theory behind his stuff. All these people knew the theory in one way or another, whether it's academically or on the
Instinctively.
street, yeah,
Yeah.
or instinctively. They knew what they were doing. And you look at some of the stuff that Jimi Hendrix broke down, for example, in "The Woman Cries Mary." in that guitar solo, how he is playing I guess it's a D minor or D major scale, pentatonic scale up closer to the 12th fret. All those notes that he's playing is in that scale. He knows all those notes and he knows all the different shapes. He may not have known the scale degrees or what it meant, but he knew all the exact notes to hit and they were all in that scale. How do I get to the point where I could understand the way he does? What are the correct notes and what everybody plays a sour note when they're soloing and you're like,
Yeah.
that sounds horrible. Why? How could we avoid that? And that's where the theory comes into place. If you understand that, then there's so many patterns out there,
Yeah.
dots and tabs and all that. It gets really confusing. I want to like take what I'm and take all that stuff and kind of simplify it as much as possible and kind of show people, hey, this actually comes from somewhere. It's not just off of the top of the it could be off of the top of their head, but there was intent behind it. This is why it sounds good, and this is why where it comes from a theory musical standpoint. And that's, you know, doing these lessons actually taught me a lot as
Yeah.
well,
Totally.
because I'm breaking down songs that I never thought of breaking down and understanding where certain things have come from, and now I can put those things together when I'm doing that stuff. So
It's fantastic. I mean, I just think it's really cool. I'm more of a player, not really a coach, and I think it takes a
yeah,
special person who can do both. And in guitar, you actually have to be able it's not like basketball where you can know the game, but not really be that good at it.
uh-huh,
It's like you kinda have to be good at guitar to show me guitar, and so, I just
yeah,
find it's really cool because it's a different dichotomy than what I've been exposed to in my life where people who can't do teach, and people who can't teach gym. No. But, like, it's like having every guitar teacher is actually good at guitar. Robert Baker's actually good at guitar. Guthrie Trapp's actually good at guitar. He's actually not that good at teaching,
yeah. He's
which
horrible at teaching.
brings me to my next question, which
Yeah.
is like, your Guthrie Trap video has done really well in the last like few days.
I would definitely check out Guthrie Trapp's YouTube channel because he gives out a lot of free lessons online. He charges for personal lessons, but what you can get from his guitar videos that he puts out is really valuable, especially coming from him. But therein lies the problem. The guy is so good that it is really like trying to learn how to play basketball from Michael Jordan. He's just going to pass you on right by, and you have to really be paying attention and taking notes, which is what I am attempting to do here with this video. So as I demonstrated at the beginning of this video, the thing that I wanted to cover was transitioning between chord changes, in particular a 1-4-5, and we're going to be using the key of E as our example. I'm going to go ahead and throw up a recent video of one of Guthrie Trapp's lessons and kind of let that play through. It's only about 20 seconds, and I want to distill that down to make it a little more comprehensible to somebody like me and hopefully you.
And
Yeah.
you said something to me in private that I think I can say, which is like you don't want to get pigeonholed as the Guthrie Trap breakdown guy. And I know there's like
Uh-huh.
some Tom Bukovac guys that are doing that stuff
Uh-huh.
already. Nobody's really doing Guthrie on that right now.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I want to tell you as a viewer and a subscriber that it's not because it's a Guthrie Trap. Maybe that brought eyes to it, but I
Mm-hmm.
think that the reason that that video did well is because it's your best lesson video you've ever done in general. Like, it just like,
Yeah.
to watch, to hear the way you explained, the way you examined, like, the thought process, everything about it was so digestible and well planned and drawn out. If you put that into the next Nirvana song you wanna talk about or the next Neil Young song
Mm-hmm.
you wanna do, eh, people will keep coming back for that. So
Right.
I just think it was your best video yet, personally,
Yeah.
and I
Appreciate
think
it.
that's
Yeah.
why, but Guthrie Trap being the subject matter
Mm-hmm.
definitely would have brought some eyes to you.
Yeah.
I did the Robert Baker lesson course because Robert was the subject matter, it definitely brought eyes to that video,
Mm-hmm.
and it did really well as well. So there
Yeah.
is something there, but I think I think it's one of your best videos for
Yeah,
sure.
dude, I really appreciate it. That video, it just came out um as of this recording, came out a little less than a week ago. It's I don't personally think it's my best video I've ever made, but it's resonated. But that's the kind of crazy thing. I could literally put out this what I think is the dumbest shit ever, and then it gets me so many views and so many people love it. I'm like, how the hell do people like this? I'm like, what the hell is going on? Uh, I don't understand it, but I'm like, I just need to put stupid stuff out there and people enjoy that more than, the serious stuff that I put more time and effort into. But, I just roll with it. The Guthrie Trap video, it's a little timid at first, uh, I think you have this quote, learning guitar from Guthrie Trap is like learning to shoot a three-pointer from Michael Jordan.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right? And you just can't. The guy's gonna pass you by. He's probably a good one-on-one teacher. I don't even know if he's a good one-on-one teacher. I'm not gonna sit in here trashing Guthrie Trap. I'm praising him because he's so good that I just can't follow, most of the
That's
time, and I think
more likely what it
yeah,
is
and
we're mere mortals, we can't follow it.
I
Yeah,
can't keep up with it,
yeah,
and I think the same thing applies to a lot of people. They tune in, they watch him play for 3, 4 minutes, and he just sounds amazing, and then he talks about his life, and then he throws in 2 minutes of quick, "This is what I did here, blah, 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 blah," and I'm like, "Okay, so now I gotta take what he did there, which is already just freaking wild, and he's teaching us all this stuff. He claims he doesn't know all the theory and modes and stuff. That's all he plays. He knows all that stuff. I don't know
yeah,
what he's saying, but okay, so if you take his videos and you distill it's seeing the forest for the trees type of deal. There's so much information in there, but if you take a step back, he really is only teaching you one thing in every one of his videos. He's not
sure.
sitting there drilling you with one thing over and over. He plays a lot and he gives you a bunch of different examples. If you slow it down and look at it, that video that I just did that, covered his stuff, there was only one thing to that whole video. It's a
Yeah,
12, 13-minute long video, but you could distill that down into the 20-second clip that I showed you in that video, and that's everything that he showed there. If I could take that, slow it down, understand it for myself, and then convey that forward, I think that's why it resonates with people because it kinda helps people put, take something very what they thought was super complex, and maybe it is complex, but distill it down to a version that we could actually understand. It's like having a good tutor, right? They
yeah,
know their stuff and they're translating it for you in a more digestible way. I think anybody could do it if they took the time, and watched his videos and slowed it down and really analyze it. But if you have that knowledge base, this is why I always stress it on my videos, know the major scale because that's so important. You have to know that in order to understand a lot of his videos and a lot of the videos that are even out there, except for like Marty Schwartz, he's just showing you chords. But
yeah.
there's a lot of assumptions going on that in a lot of these advanced lessons where they assume that you know so and so, but what if you don't? You're just gonna get lost. So I want to try to help people understand that kind of stuff there.
You're the hero
So
we all need, brother.
like I'm definitely gonna pursue more of these Guthrie Trap things
Yeah,
because look, it helps me understand his stuff too because it's like, all right, I have a mission now. I need to watch this video and figure it out. And this it gives me the opportunity to learn from Guthrie Trap too, because it
yeah,
forces me to sit down and do what you just said and pigeonhole like what is he trying to teach here and how could I explain it best and rewatch it. All right, this is the gist of what he's trying to get across. I'm definitely be doing more of these Guthrie Trap type of videos moving forward. The next one I have coming out, which I don't know when this video is coming out, is going to be on something not Guthrie Trap related, but kind of similar to what him and Jack Ruck did does. But yeah, like I'll explore those other things, but I think it's kind of cool to take like somebody like a Guthrie Trap, like you said, and just like figure it out for other people. And I'm not claiming anything. I'm not that great of a guitarist, especially compared to Guthrie Trap, but I could distill that kind of stuff down. You
yeah.
mentioned Eric Haugen.
Wanna
Haugen.
take a virtual like, a video lesson with them sometime?
Me too. I actually like out of all the people, he'd be the one that I would want to take a lesson with. I've never had a lesson in my life before, but
Mhm.
I would want one from him. I mean, look, I would not want to learn. I always thought this in my life. I would not want to learn guitar from Jimi Hendrix. I wouldn't want to learn, definitely not from Carlos Santana. He'd talk about some crazy
Holy
angels
smoke.
called Megatron that came
Yeah.
down from the earth and aliens and all that. I was like, okay, no. No, I wanna learn from Eric Haugen how to play guitar. Um, I considered getting one of his lessons too, but I'm like, "Ah, I don't know." But yeah, that if I was to get one, it would be through him.
Listen,
Definitely. Eric
my
Haugen.
only tip.
Shout out. I hope you're watching.
Yeah, I hope he sees this too, man. He's so good. I'm just really appreciative that you're doing this for free on YouTube right now. Hopefully someday you make money from it. I want that for you, but it's awesome to have a resource like
Oh,
you out
yeah. Well, eventually, one could only dream.
there. Okay, so brother, to wrap things up, I just have one more question. This is kind of becoming like a running theme here on Tone Deep because talking to a lot of dudes, a lot of bros that have kids. And my question is always probably more for me than for anybody else, but like, how do you balance playing guitar as, a hobby or part of your life or whatever you want to call it, part of who you are, what you do, and like being a dad, like, how do you build in those shut off switches where you're like, it's family time now and I need to not be on maybe Ubi's live stream, or maybe I need to
Yeah.
skip, SFT's, what's it called again? His stream? I always call it
Off
SFT.
the rails,
Off the
searching
rails.
for
Like, maybe I
tone.
can't make
Yeah,
off the rails, or maybe I
yeah,
can't go to Tuesday nights with Ted or whatever.
yeah.
How do you do that?
See, that's very, very interesting. Like, I was thinking about that yesterday because just for transparency, Sean sent me some questions ahead of time, and I was thinking about that question because I'm like, how the hell do I manage my time with all this stuff? Because yesterday, for example, I picked up a Switch 2 because that just came out, right? And it came with Mario Kart, and I also wanted to play guitar, and I wanted to watch a TV show with my wife later on in the night, and we also have the kids to take care of and all that. And I told my wife, I was like, "Hey, let's play Mario Kart and let's watch a couple episodes of The Pit." She was like, "Well, we can't do both. We got to pick one." And I'm like, "No, we're gonna do both." Because I don't know, like, man, I don't. It's difficult managing time, but somehow I do it. I'm able to fit all that stuff in. Work. I cook dinner. I play video games, probably more than I should. Play my guitar, get on all these streams, and I still have to have time with the wife and all that. It's hard, but I don't know. It's just timing. Look, I don't play my guitar and past 9 o'clock at night. That's one of those things. When it hits 9 o'clock, I'm like, I need to start getting ready for bed and and hang out with my wife,
Yeah.
and do things like that. And I'm not even playing my guitar that late every day. I just realize, that I'm not gonna be able to do everything I want to in a day. I'm not gonna be able to play this video game every single day for hours. I can't do that. I know that I have responsibilities. You know, family comes first. That all has to get taken care of with me, making sure the kids are fed, making sure they're happy and all that, making sure they get to school in the morning. And then work. You have to do that. And you have to maintain a relationship with your wife because you can't just sit there and watch YouTube streams and play guitar all day and not have a relationship with your wife. And flowers aren't going to cut it every time. So most of the time, yeah, but not every
Yeah.
time. So it's I don't know. I think the biggest trick for me is 9 o'clock cutoffs with all of my personal stuff. I just say, look, at 9 o'clock hits, that's my time to hang out with my wife. The kids are doing their own thing, either in bed or getting ready for school. My wife works weekends, nights, so that's when I get the bulk of my like YouTube video creation done. I usually shoot my videos Saturday night when she goes to work, edit them, upload them all in that same night. So that way it's all condensed into that one little period. That's my dedicated YouTube like creation time. But then after that, like I said, work, dinner, I got a few hours, maybe two a day during the week to do my own thing, or sometimes not. Maybe it is like a day like today. I'm gonna go out take the family to the carnival, but when I get back, I'm gonna play my guitar a little bit,
Yeah. Yeah.
even if it's just picking up. And that's one thing I like to stress to everybody, especially beginners. Even if you pick up a guitar one time a day for 5 minutes, even if you just strum two chords, do it. Pick it up
Yeah.
every single day. Do it. I made that commitment to myself when I picked up a guitar when I was 13. I was like, and I picked it up every single day and played it every single day for 4 years until I went to college. Then I kind of shoved that thing underneath my bed in the dorms and never picked it up. again for quite a for a little bit. But yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's priorities first, and then yeah, you're right. I have that timer. 9 o'clock hits. I'm usually done with everything else. That's
Set up
wife
some
talking.
guardrails for yourself with that
Yeah, I
that
have
you
to.
won't break, you know?
Otherwise, I'll be either playing a video game the whole night through. This is not fair to everybody else, right?
I just always like to ask that question because
Yeah.
there's so many of us out there, guitar dads that are doing YouTube and stuff like
Hmm.
that, and it's just
Yeah.
always a really interesting,
So, I mean,
thing.
luckily for me, like my son is 16 now. He's older, and my wife's son is 13. He's a
Mhm.
little bit older now. But even when I was, my son was a baby and all that. But even when I was, when I first had my son, when he's uh, baby up until recently, I always had my guitar. I didn't do this YouTube thing until just a little over a year ago. But with the band stuff, that was one night a week. But one thing I always had, even when he was a baby, was my guitar. He always heard me play. I was always practicing. I was always writing music. I have this Beatles book in the back with the chord song book, which is amazing. I bought it twice. It's falling off the seams. Um, Always learning new songs, always playing around them. So he was always there. My guitar was acoustic guitar, always next to me on the couch, always played. That's kind of how I did it that way. Now with the whole YouTube thing, yeah, I'm fortunate. I don't have little, kids running around and doing all that stuff. They kind of respect the space and privacy when I'm doing it. Sometimes not. And then yeah, you do get moments where you're recording a video and then you hear balls banging around or my wife vacuuming. I'm like, okay, I guess I just got to wait a little bit. I
Yeah.
don't complain. This is, uh, we're lucky to be able to get to do
Yeah.
this. So if
100%.
I, and lucky is one thing, and I'm lucky that my wife, like, it- she's like my biggest supporter here. I wouldn't, she's not pissed off that I do any of this stuff. She likes it. It's a hobby. It's a healthy hobby. So I think if you have that understanding with your significant other, and then you also expose the kids around to the music in the process, that makes things more interwoven with everything. So where it's not really a problem. But yeah, I think to give you a succinct answer, yeah, you have to set a little bit of a boundary. Like my boundary is a 9 o'clock cutoff. I can't really go past that without like either annoying everybody or the last thing you want to do is annoy your wife and do all that because you love her, right?
Yeah.
So that's the thing.
Right on, man. Well, Keith, bro, it's been fun. I'm glad we got
Yeah,
to
definitely.
get this right this time, and really, I just appreciate what you do, and I appreciate you coming on here to share a little bit more about yourself with me and everybody else.
Yeah, definitely, man. Thank you for having me.
All right, brother. Well, we'll catch you on one of the live streams here soon.
Very soon. I'll talk to you later, man. You
All
have a
right,
good
brother.
day.
Take care.
Bye.